Hey everyone, it's Cap here. This is going to be a little Excalibur video. A lot of you who've seen my tier list have requested that I make a video about Excalibur. I am also very happy to see that a lot of people are agreeing with the things that I'm saying about Excalibur. He's kind of this like weird glass cannon when he really shouldn't be. His abilities kind of work in some strange ways. And so yeah, he also does a ton of damage, and I guess we're Warframe players. I'm a Warframe YouTuber, and we like big damage here. So I'm gonna show you the big damage. So you know me. I'm a little simulacrum warrior. I'm just gonna spawn in some corrupted heavy gunners, and I'll give him one of those. And yeah, 1.3 million. Oh boy, that just outright one shots them. 4.5 million. uh 1 point something million on a normal attack, even without anything like that. It's a 2.2 million toxin proc. So Excalibur is really strong, but Excalibur is really squishy at the same time. I'll touch on that in a sec. But first, we're gonna go over the build really quick. Your Archon shards do matter a bunch. There's kind of two ways that you can go with this. You can go all purple shards for melee crit damage, or you can go toxin shards. So with this particular build, we're using a pure toxin Exalted Blade with the chromatic blade augment. So we have two Tau Forged Emerald shards over here for toxin effects. Some of you might know that these toxin shards are multiplicative with our base damage mods, which is really nice. If we have some Saren players watching the video, um, some people might also know that Saren's Toxic Lash actually doesn't have that multiplicative interaction. I don't know if the Toxin Shards benefit Toxic Lash at all, or if they are only an additive bonus. I can't really remember. But it's weird Warframe spaghetti math, so just a little fun fact for you guys. But we have two of these toxin shards, so if we wanted to make the damage over time even stronger, we could continue putting more of these shards, or if we wanted to buff up our crit and our upfront damage, we could also put more crit damage. Either or will kind of do the same thing. We do have a lot of sources of multiplicative damage, so I will say probably a safe bet would be two Tau Forge purple shards, and then maybe a casting speed shard, because it takes forever for his radial javelin to come out. But yeah, so we're just gonna hop into the Warframe build right here. We are running Swift Momentum and Prime Sure-Footed. Excalibur is a melee frame. I don't need to explain why either of these are necessary. I guess we could be using Empowered Blades if we had an Umbral Forma, or not an Umbral Forma, an Aura Forma, but that's cringe. He already is as squishy as can be, so we don't need we don't need to lose any shields. But I do know that the status damage and the status chance are multiplicative, or I don't think that the status chance is multiplicative. It might be like a flat bonus. I can't remember, but I do know that Empowered Blade is actually like surprisingly really good. Not enough people use it. Anyways, Prime Sure-Footed, obviously he's a melee frame. We have Umbral Intensify, Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude. This just gives us a bunch of strength. Excalibur really likes strength because the damage you gain from his Furious Javelin augment is multiplicative, so we want as much of that strength as possible. And I'll show you the difference between having it on and not having it on. But Furious Javelin is actually like one of the best melee damage buffs in the game. You can kind of imagine that Furious Javelin is like a Mirage buff, but just applies to your melee. But it can scale even harder than than Eclipse does. It scales way more aggressively. This also kills my soul because I have seen Excalibur builds with Eclipse, which is weird. It's so weird that people don't understand that Furious Javelin exists and is like the best fucking melee damage buffer in the game. I really do wish Excalibur Subsume was his javelin, because you could make so many broken frames with this. Imagine giving Calervo Radial Javelin with Furious Javelin. Like, oh my god. Speaking of Calervo, we have his Wrathful Advance on the build. I'll explain why when we get to the build on the Exalted Blade, but this is certainly just for a ton of pure damage. I very ironically, you kind of don't need it. You can go for pure status, and I don't know. I think if you go for pure status, you're gonna be hurting a lot for damage. Doing crit is definitely the way to go. I think this is the most fun way to play him, but unfortunately, We don't really have any survivability tools that we can access via Helminth, which really sucks. So yeah, Wrathful Advance for this one. As I'm gonna say, like in the title and everything like that in this video, like this is a flawed build. People just are curious, and it is referencing my tier list where I say like Excalibur really has a lot of survivability issues. Anyways, we also have Archon Continuity. This is because we're using Chromatic Blade. Our energy color is green, so we have a pure Toxin Chromatic Blade. And we have 800% status chance. Unfortunately, this is not the actual status chance of our Exalted Blade. This is just 800%, or technically 900 because it's just basically already there. It's 900% of whatever status chance is on that. So our status chance is still like disgustingly high, but it is not like super crazy or anything like that. Equilibrium for energy economy. Same thing with Prime Flow, just to make sure that we can keep our Exalted Blade out. Pretty rarely do I run into issues with energy. Even though we are running a negative efficiency, it seems that you will be killing things fast enough to keep your energy up. If you're not dead. Arcane Strike and Arcane Fury, just specifically for melee buffs. I do believe Arcane Fury does benefit Exalted Blade. I could be wrong. Who knows? Our primary, secondary, and melee, these don't matter. Melee does matter like a teeny tiny bit, because if you wanted to, you could run the Gladiator Set mod. This actually will benefit Exalted Blade if you have one of those set mods on your Exalted Blade. So we have Gladiator Might over here, so we are benefiting from the 30% crit chance. If you do have more mods of this Gladiator set stacked up, you can actually get a higher crit chance than what Blood Rush provides, which is really nice. That is just a lot of investment. So I think somewhere in the math and everything like that, if you really wanted to, you could probably take Wrathful Advance off and then put a different subsume on, but that's boring and that's cringe, and I'm angry and upset and I'm bitter, and I want to use Wrathful Advance because it's really fun. I like teleporting everywhere. But yeah. So we have Prime Pressure Point and Prime Fever Strike. The base damage of our Exalted Blade is already really high because it scales off of Power Strength and basically condenses that all into a single stat. So if we take these mods off, we go from 5,000 to 745, which kind of just goes to show how important these mods are for our damage. These do scale multiplicatively with our damage numbers, and that's why they are worth us so much. Prime Fury is just good. This goes hand in hand with Arcane Strike and just gives us a huge DPS up. A lot of people will mod for just pure damage instead of fire rate or attack speed, when you don't really realize that having a higher fire rate or a higher attack speed is going to be much of a higher DPS increase than just modding for pure damage. That is kind of a trap that a lot of people fall into, especially Warframe YouTubers. Also modding for things like quality of life, like reload speed or negative recoil and anything like that, people tend to ignore, so they can go damage, and it doesn't make for a very fun playstyle. So Prime Fury is super duper useful in here. Gladiator Might, Galvanized Steel, these are all crit mods. Organ Shatter is here as well. These are all pretty basic crit mods. We're not really here for the 110% crit chance for Galvanized Steel, but we are for the crit damage because it's 120% crit damage, which is a lot. So when Galvanized Steel is all built up, I'm pretty sure our Exalted Blade sits around maybe an 8 or 9 combo, or not 8 or 9 combo, 8 or 9 times critical multiplier, which is very scary. So definitely super good. Galvanized Elementalist, specifically because we are relying pretty, not heavily, I'm gonna be honest, the damage of Chromatic Blade is already like crazy, but we do want to buff up that damage over time even harder, and Elementalist is a way to do that as well. This Galvanized Elementalist quite literally does act like those Archon shards that we have on our build, so not only are we having the 90% from 2 Tau Forged Archon shards, we are also getting another 80%. So we're getting, what, 170% status damage? But this is multiplicative damage, so it means that our damage over time is being multiplied by 1.7, which is crazy. So we're basically doubling the damage that we do with our Toxin proc on top of the critical damage and the crit tier damage buffs that we get. So imagine we're doing 9 times 5,000 times 1.7 times whatever our Fierce Javelin is. Like, it gets pretty crazy. And then we also have Archon Continuity as well to armor strip on top of our Toxin. And so because Toxin has a stronger proc coefficient that Slash does, it means that as we strip armor, we will continue doing more and more damage up until we're just like hitting millions and millions and millions of Toxin proc damage. Now, the last thing on this build I haven't spoken about is Prime Reach. And you might be, why the heck are you using Prime Reach? Well, the Exalted Blade has a really cool thing, and it is 100% follow through. So a lot of people don't know what the stat is. A lot of people don't understand it entirely. Basically, the best way to explain it is that if your weapon has a 50% follow through, the first enemy you hit in your melee strike will do 100% of the damage. And the second enemy you hit during that single strike is going to do 50% of whatever that damage you did to the first enemy is. So if you hit enemy, basically if you hit like a big group of enemies, by the time you get to the last one, you're barely going to be doing any damage. So having a 100% follow through is really, really strong because it means we can clear out dense crowds of enemies really well. So the best way to maximize our DPS with Exalted Blade is not actually to use the waves, even though the waves definitely do a ton of damage like this. We can kind of just sit here and do this, and these enemies will eventually die. The way we really want to be doing it is we want to be hitting them directly with the sword, because this is just raw, pure damage in all of its forms. Actually, I'll respawn them and I'll group them up, and I'll show you. When I group these enemies up like this with Magus Anomaly, they all should die roughly at the same time, if I can hit them all. So I should be able to hit all of these enemies. They should die roughly at the same time. Exactly. So that's the power of 100% follow through, basically. Is they are all taking 100% of the damage of our melee strike, and so that's why I'm out for range, as well as Tennokai, because the heavy attacks are disgustingly OP. I don't know what kind of multipliers the heavy attack is running off of, but 4.6 million Toxin proc. No combo, by the way. Yeah, so no combo. This heavy attack can also hit heads, which is really, really nice. So if you get lucky enough, it'll do a ton of damage. So yeah, let's roll over the combo as well. The combos for Exalted Blade, because they do matter a lot. This is the standard, what is it? This one over here is the standard just walking forward. This is what's going to give you the most amount of waves. So if you're clearing a ton of enemies that are in front of you, you just want to be walking forward as you melee. Standing still though, this is I need this one particular enemy to die. And the reason that this is the good kind of tank buster combo for Exalted Blade is because it has crazy multipliers, and it's also very important that the animation actually strikes from the top down, and that melee strike is actually capable of hitting headshots. So not only are we doing 300% damage on the first two strikes, we are also hitting the head, which is getting headshot damage as on top of all of our other damage scaling, which means it is an incredibly like heavily scaling attack. And the nice thing is that the final attack does knock over enemies, which, I mean, if we could benefit from melee arcanes, if I could put melee afflictions on the Exalted Blade, it would be done for. It would be like the grossest melee in the game. We have blocking forward, which is not like super duper useful. Either of the blocking combos are not great. This one, the equal laceration one, just the neutral E block, is kind of nice because it does have a pretty heavy set of multipliers. So cutting pose and equal laceration kind of do the same thing. However, we do get the headshot multiplier from cutting pose, so we're going to basically just keep using this. Virtuous slash, I just wouldn't use in general. I think it looks really cool though. It definitely looks like the coolest. It's very flashy. It is useful if you need to close a gap, though. The first, what is it? The first combo that we have in this will cover quite a bit of distance. So if you're meleeing an enemy over here, you can spin on a dime and get up to them without having to burn your slash dash or ability. One of the amazing things about having Wrathful Advance and slash dash is because we can ping pong from enemy to enemy, and you can clear out like a group like really quickly. So imagine we're doing that, we're doing that, we're doing that, we're doing that, and we can just ping pong from enemy So definitely super high DPS, but no survivability. But yeah, I will show you that headshot damage as well because it is very scary. I'm not even going to buff up my Exalted Blade or anything. I'm just going to hit headshot down. So you can see that we are doing a pretty decent amount of damage like that. So 34k head down. This is going to go up to 65 or something like that as we build our Toxic procs. But if we just hit them with a normal strike like this, like 3.8k, right? But we can hit the headshot, and now we do a ton more. So that's why that is definitely the best. The good thing about that also is that it does have the follow through as well. So, I mean, if enemies are grouped up enough, you can just use the neutral combo and just nuke them all. But yeah, let's go on to my issues with Excalibur and some things that I think he really needs. Some stuff we could change about Excalibur to make him really viable. Because it sucks, in my opinion. It is like, it is this super duper high investment, like, build to deal just oodles of damage. And, you know, truth be told, there are other builds that have less investment that do the same amount of damage, but, like, I feel like a lot of people don't consider it like the fun factor of a Warframe. Like, I think Exalted Blade is the funnest fucking thing in the game. I love playing Excalibur. I love playing Exalted Blade. The issue is that he just can't survive, right? So, um, I kind of don't remember where I was going with that tangent. I do not remember where I was going with that tangent. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, it's Excalibur can't really live. So let's go over why he can't live. I'm gonna spawn these enemies, and I'm gonna bump their level down. Just gonna put them at like level 70 or something, and we're just gonna run over here. And I'm going to slash dash. And you're going to see I'm still taking damage in my slash dash even though I'm invincible, which is really weird. Why am I still taking damage in my slash dash? I'm invincible, but I don't take health damage. So I don't know if that was hard coded into the game. Maybe it was the first time they had an ability that gives you immunity frames or something like that. And maybe they just had like a really weird way of coding it because like the last time Excalibur's kit was touched was years ago by now. And so the age has definitely shown through, which is really unfortunate. So the fact that our shields are able to take damage and we also can't regenerate shields whilst we're in slash dash is the weirdest thing ever. So the only reason I have slash dash on this build is because it will still kill enemies while you're using your Exalted Blade. But the other thing is that it is kind of just a last ditch effort in hopes that you can basically kill all the enemies that are attacking you in your slash dash by the time you exit it, so you can have time to regenerate your shields in order to prepare for the next set of enemies, basically. And that's literally just why slash dash is there. The other survivability tool, quote unquote, in Excalibur's kit is his blind. And his blind used to be a pretty okay way of surviving until they made it so that overguarded enemies can't be blinded or slowed or anything like that. And then that absolutely just killed Excalibur. Like his kit was already pretty dated, and then when they made those overguard changes, it was just into the trash basically. So not only did you have to worry about the range that you had on it and the line of sight as well, because if you were in a pickle and your shields were broken and your shield gate was down, you would basically just get one shot by a steel path level enemy, which really sucks. So yeah, there's too much variance to having just a simple AoE stun to use it as a concrete survivability ability on top of the fact that it does cost a lot of energy to cast. It is really unfortunate. So we don't use this blind anymore. But that's literally his two answers to survivability is slash dash and his radial blind. And so now we're just kind of stuck in this really awkward point where radial blind isn't enough to cut it, and slash dash doesn't give you actual immunity. It doesn't let you regenerate your shield. If if you could regenerate your shields whilst you were in slash dash, or like I'm pretty sure you can regenerate your shields, but the fact is that you get hit while you're in it. If they made it so that you couldn't get hit while you're in your slash dash and you can regenerate your shields, Excalibur would have no survivability issues because all you would have to do is just mod for like shield regen delay and then just go into your slash dash and then you'll be completely fine. You just use an energy conversion mod. You use your slash dash. It jumpstarts your shield regen, and it makes the timer lower. And so you immediately go back into your shields, and then you can continue killing. But now you're kind of at this point where that's not possible. So what is my suggestion to fix Excalibur's survivability? And my suggestion is that we change his passive. Excalibur's passive sucks monkey balls, and it has to be one of the worst passives in the game. Not like the worst, but one of the worst. Like it sucks. It's not a good passive whatsoever. You get 10% attack speed and 10% damage when you're using a sword. And you do not feel that whatsoever. I don't even know if this passive is bugged or if it actually works or something like that, because you don't feel that 10% whatsoever. It's not a meaningful bonus. Like at the very least make it like 25 or something, and then that way it's like actually like a meaningful amount of damage, but 10% is so small. So what my suggestion is that we give him the passive of Killer's Confidence from Duviri. If you play a lot of Duviri, this might be like a weird decree to pick up. Maybe you'll pick it up if there's no other better option, but essentially what Killer's Confidence does is when you get a melee kill, it gives you Overguard. And I can't remember if that Overguard stacks or not. I don't think it actually does. It's just you get Overguard, you get a melee kill and you get Overguard, and that's it. But why this is so important is because you get a 0.5 second invulnerability period when that shield breaks, basically. So when your Overguard breaks, you get 0.5 seconds. You can run around and you can kill another enemy in that half second. I can take Excalibur to level cap in Duviri if I have Killer's Confidence. If not, I'm screwed. There's no way I'm doing it. No way in hell. There is no survivability in this game that is able to help me with that. And then even then, if I do have Killer's Confidence, there will be times where enemies are simply too far away from me in order to kill them. And that is exactly why I'm running Wrathful Advance and Slash Dash, is to clear that gap as fast as humanly possible so I can continue the cycle of breaking my Overguard over and over again, getting a kill, it breaks, I get a kill, it breaks, and over, and then basically I'm just sitting there immune. Why is this an important passive to have? Is because I think it's a really good opportunity to teach new players about what Overguard exactly is. I don't know in the onboarding experience if Overguard is explained at all, but I think it's really good to visually have it an easy way to gain Overguard, because all the other ways that you can get Overguards on your Warframes are through like high level content like Dante, or through augment mods on Frost or something like that, or Styanax through an augment mod, or Arcane Fortifier. So it's kind of hard to get Overguard for a Warframe. So this would be a great way to introduce players into realizing like, oh, Overguard gives me status immunity. I can't get knocked down. Overguard isn't affected by any damage reductions and anything like that. It is a good way. It is basically just a good way to tell players that Overguard is basically just extra health, right? And in that way, they can understand, it's like, why am I barely doing any slash damage or anything like that, or this or that or the other, or why are my abilities affecting Xmas units, is because there's the Overguard on it. So yeah, I'm gonna try and bring this into Mott, and I'm gonna try my hardest to not die, but we're gonna see what happens, because like this build, it is technically like quote unquote a Duviri build, and you know, if I have him in my Duviri setup, then I will very happily pick him and then just kind of pray that I get Killer's Confidence. But if not, like I'm kind of screwed. So I'm gonna run Jin. We'll see if Jin is able to revive me. That would be pretty cool, I think. What is Void Raider? Oh, that's the mission for Barrow, I think. Okay, But we're gonna go to Mott and we're gonna see what happens. Mott is a great baseline for survivability because void enemies do a lot more damage than normal steel path enemies, and it also spawns a metric fuck ton of them. So yeah, we're gonna pop an energy pad because I'm a silly little guy and I don't want to go in here without any energy. We're basically waiting until the first Xmas spawns so we can get all of our energy back with Equilibrium, and then we can get the ball rolling. So I'm gonna be shameless. I'm gonna pop a little energy pad for us. So yeah. I don't know what to say. This super lazy video. Like the reason I don't think I'm taking this quite as seriously as my other videos is because I just know that the way that I want to play Excalibur and the fun way to play Excalibur just don't align. Or no, they don't align with like survivability. Like you're just gonna be kind of SOL. Like yeah, there goes my shield fucking instantly. So yeah, I just need to sit here, wait for my shield to regen. Something nice not a lot of people know about Excalibur is your waves will go through walls. So if you really want to be like super cheap and super cheesy, you can AFK like a survival like this and just let the waves kill them. The only issue is that you will eventually need to go out for energy. But that's kind of a fun little fact. We're gonna come over here, get a fat Radial Javelin. And you can see that our shield is broken on the inside, and we're going to the bleed out timer. That is just a great example of Excalibur having kind of a hard time. So, yeah. I think there definitely is a way that I can build. Like, I would probably just put Condemn on Excalibur and then just mod for better efficiency. Probably the best way to do things. But like as I said, like there's fun factor and there's a power fantasy in Warframe, and the fact of the matter is that Excalibur just doesn't align with that power fantasy. And I'm dead again because it came out of the slash dash. It's just the dumbest thing ever. My Jin's super cool and will revive me. We're also not getting any Xmas spawns as well, which is great. So I'm having a really hard time keeping my energy up. So yeah, I don't know. There's really not much I can do in this case. That was good though. We got a ton of energy back from that Xmas. Got nice and healed. Yeah, Excalibur is so fun to play. I love him, but God, he's really not cut out for like super high level content. Like if you want to use him as a weapons platform with his Furious Javelin and just use melee, then that's perfectly fine. That is a-okay in my books. But I like his main selling point is this freaking sword, and I really want to use it, and I want it to do nice damage. But the issue is that we're also restricted in the fact that we can't use mods like Blood Rush or Weeping Winds. Because, I mean, obviously it would be OP. You saw it, even without those mods, I was doing like millions of toxin damage, so is like, if they gave us these mods, I probably hope that they nerf the exalted weapons like a little bit, and then that way we have access to those melee mods. But yeah, it's stupid, it's dumb. I don't understand why we have access to galvanized mods if we can't have access to simple combo mods. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Oh wow, my Jin died. So yeah, we've already died how many times? And you can see over here, we're gonna sit in our slash dash. Oh great, War is here. Thank God I can block. It's my saving grace, just being able to block like that. Maybe I'm just bad. Maybe it's just a skill issue, and I need to be blocking at all times. Maybe that's the case. And no, it's not a skill issue. Vor is here too. Great. Did I kill Vor with my upward? No, I didn't. All right, come here, big boy. Vor's dead. Maybe I'll get an acolyte too, and we'll see. We'll just see what happens. Oh, Oh, 1400%. Oh, 25 million heavy attack. Oh, 20. Oh my god. Come on, big boy. Come on. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna regen my shield, boys. All right. Thank you. Good lord. Maybe I should run freaking Vazarin. I think Vazarin is such a. Oh yeah. I think Vazarin is such a cop out. Because it is literally just like the easiest way to survive is just to use Vazarin. But it's like I don't want to have to hop into my operator every other second. I like having Matter-Eye because I just get damaged and I don't need to think about it. It's not cringe. Get another 1500. Oh. Gotta make sure to keep my thing out. What is going on there? There we go. We have our Acolyte now, which is nice. Oh yeah, and I'm dead again. As I said, like, you really can't make this shit up. Like, it is so unfortunate, but... hey, at the very least... Oh, we got our ability shut down. It's okay, he died at the Toxin proc, though, because we're cool like that. Our shield's immediately broken. We're fucking dead again. Like... it doesn't matter if we had our blind or if we went into our slash dash, because if the blind was there, there would still be Xmas units, there would still be units that didn't get hit by that, and I'm fucking dead again. Like, this is the problem with Excalibur, is yes, you can build to give him survivability, but no, I do not want to do that. I want to use his Exalted Blade as God intended with Wrathful Advance, because that is the best way to play Excalibur. Am I biased? Yes. Is there a solution to my problem? Also yes. Do I care about that solution to the problem? No. This is how I want to play Excalibur, and I'm gonna bitch and I'm gonna moan and I'm gonna whine until we can get some kind of survivability fix for him. But yeah, that's Excalibur. I'm gonna get out of here.